Washington, President Donald Trump selected for Brett Kavanaugh to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy on the Supreme Court. A pivotal choice that could move the court in a more conservative direction for decades. At a White House ceremony announcing the pick, Trump described Kavanaugh as a man of impeccable credentials and a true thought leader among his peers, long seen as the frontrunner for the position because of his academic pedigree, sterling reputation and lengthy career in government service. Kavanaugh had to fight off late support for several other candidates that had Trump wavering up to the final hours Monday. A former lawyer and top aide to President George W. Bush, Kavanaugh, 53, has served on the powerful U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia circuit for the past 12 years. It's the same court that produced 3 current High Court justices. He also worked for independent counsel Kenneth Starr during the Whitewater investigation of President Bill Clinton. Kavanaugh said that if he is confirmed by the Senate, he will keep an open mind in every case. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law. A judge must interpret statutes as written and a judge must interpret the Constitution as written, he said. Kavanaugh ruled in one case involving abortion last year and is considered a likely opponent of Roe v. Wade, the 1973 ruling that legalized abortion nationwide. He has a solidly conservative record as a judge in cases involving government regulation and the separation of powers, issues that are important to the groups supporting his candidacy. Trump introduced Kavanaugh in the ornate White House East Room, which was packed with special guests including lawmakers ranging from Vice President Mike Pence to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, R. Kentucky. The Senate must confirm Trump's nominee, who will be backed campaign-style by the White House and conservative legal organizations. White House aides said they have prepared rollout packages for the 4 finalists. The Judicial Crisis Network is planning a $1.4 million ad buy in Alabama, Indiana, North Dakota and West Virginia, states with moderate Democratic senators who could be pressured to vote for Trump's nominee. The Republican caucus has a 51-49 advantage in the Senate. But one key member, Senator John McCain of Arizona, is ill and may not be able to participate in the confirmation process. Kavanaugh is Trump's second nominee to the court and gives him a chance to shape the court's direction for decades to come. His 12 years as an appellate judge, combined with his Yale pedigree, Supreme Court clerkship under Kennedy and top posts in the Bush administration, give him a resume his predecessors can't match. His mother, Martha, became a Maryland state judge a quarter-century ago. I have interviewed many candidates for the federal bench, including Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Samuel Alito, said Bush's former Attorney General, Alberto Gonzales, said. There is no question in my mind regarding Brett for the Supreme Court. He has a track record that demonstrates his talents and his judicial philosophy more than anyone else in conservative legal circles today. Kavanaugh has been viewed as a Supreme Court justice in waiting. While waiting, he has penned nearly 300 opinions and sent 41 of his law clerks to similar posts at the High Court, far more than any of the other leading candidates for the nomination. Throughout the search for Trump's second Supreme Court nominee, Kavanaugh was a favorite of the conservative legal cognoscenti. They sought someone with a long track record that included most of the controversial issues likely to come before the High Court. More. These 6 senators could make or break Kavanaugh's nomination. Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court nominee straight out of Central Casting related. Hundreds protest at the Supreme Court after Trump nominates Kavanaugh. Since the 2016 campaign, Trump has made his process for picking Supreme Court justices fairly transparent. He released a list of judges he would consider for the court in 2016 and reiterated his use of that list after Kennedy's retirement. On Monday, before Trump announced his nominee, the White House sent out the list again and touted Trump's selection process. The list and reports coming from the interviews, however, have given Trump opponents a chance to examine each of the judges on the list and develop potential attacks on the records of each. Democrats who plan to oppose Trump's nominee are focusing on two Republican moderates, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, hoping to turn them against Trump's selection. Kennedy's legacy. Kennedy's retirement left a hole for Trump to fill smack in the middle of the deeply divided court, where all 9 justices tend to vote the way the presidents who nominated them expected. Kennedy, a 1988 appointee of President Ronald Reagan, was the most unpredictable. On the past quarter-century's most consequential and controversial issues, from racial preferences to religious freedom to reproductive rights, Kennedy often bridged the gap between the court's liberals and conservatives. That role became all the more important in the last decade, following the retirement of Sandra Day O'Connor in 2006. Thus it was that the 81-year-old Californian, until recently the only Westerner on the 9-member court, cast the deciding votes in recent years on gay marriage and gun ownership, prayer and privacy, campaign finance and capital punishment.